Hey, HadesOmega here, and this is the after-action review for Virginia City Grand Prix 2023. All right, it took place on April 30th, 2023, at Virginia City, obviously, right? So this happened, guys. Ta-da! I got it. I got the first place trophy. All right, and for some reason they only handed out the first place trophy this year. They didn't have the second, third, or fourth. That's kind of every year that I've raced this, everyone's always got a trophy because not that many people race in the electric class. Okay, so we need to have more electric bikes come out and race, guys. Come on, all you guys out there with Surons and Talarias, Altas, Zeros, come on out to Virginia City, man. It's a tough race, but it's rewarding. That's what I say. All right. It is literally the hardest race I've ever raced. All right, yeah, no joke. And yeah, so this is my third year racing it. All right, I've raced it 3 years in a row, and last year was a lot longer than this year. Okay, I'll get into that. All right, so this is the after action review. What it is what was supposed to happen, what really happened, and what could we do in the future to improve. All right, and yeah, we can always improve. Right. So what was supposed to happen, I kind of went over it. I kind of shot some videos and I kind of went over it, but we were supposed to race the Virginia City Grand Prix, okay, in the electric class. It's kind of mystery however many bikes we get every year. Right, this year we had 4 bikes, okay, and I'll talk about that when we get there. So yeah, we were supposed to go there and race, and so here's the plan for this year. Was last year I raced with 2 batteries, all right, and a generator, all right, and the course was like 15 miles or something, and I knew if I didn't have 3 batteries, we might not complete again. So I ran into a guy at Metcalf last year, and his name is Gautam, and I rode with him. He's a pretty good rider, all right? He rides a KTM 500 also. He had an Electric Race Technologies BSC 8000 controller on his bike, all right? So similar to my 4000, but it's an 8000, all right? I would love to have that controller. That's what I'm saying, but anyway, he had an EBMX 72 volt battery, the one that's in my bike right now. Why is it still in there? It's stuck in there. I have to get it out of there. Okay, so that will play into like my strategy later. Okay, so I messaged him on ADV Rider. All right, that's where I kind of met him, sort of, kind of, and then he said, yeah, sure. If you need to borrow it, no problem. And I mean, this thing is like $2,000, you know. It's not something you just willy-nilly let anybody borrow, okay? But he was cool with it. He's like, yeah, go ahead. And his bike was down at the moment, too, when I picked it up. I picked it up the week before the race, all right? So I had a week with the battery before the race so I can actually test it out. Okay, so one thing I noticed about this battery is it's very heavy, all right? It's literally 10 pounds heavier than the Lightspeed battery, all right? And the Lightspeed battery is pretty much the same weight as the stock battery, okay? But it has a lot of capacity in it, all right? So that's gonna go to something later, all right? So let's say, but anyway, I got a chance to ride with it on the pavement. You know, I did a range test and everything, and we got close to 40 miles on it. So pretty good. All right? That's what I say. I was impressed, and the voltage sag isn't a whole lot. It's the real deal. It's just real heavy, and it doesn't fit in the bike very good. Okay, so those things are gonna come into play later. Is what I want to say. So I got this battery from Gautam. I've never got a chance to ride with it off-road, however. So where the test began for this bike off-road was Virginia City Grand Prix. Okay. And so 2 weeks earlier, I actually raced in the Hollister Hills Wild Wabbit, all right, race, and I did okay. I was in like the mid-pack, racing against all the other bikes, so not too bad. And well, I'm glad I raced that race, so like I could kind of figure out what that was my first dirt bike race with the new kit. the KO Moto motor and controller. Okay, and it did pretty good. It was pretty impressive, not a hiccup. All right, and then so I'm talking about the events leading up to the race. All right, how I kind of prepped the bike a bit, and then so also the week of the race, a new update from KO Moto came out. I was like, oh man, I don't want to do this. It was an app update and a firmware update, all right? And it's kind of the one that I was waiting for, because I've been having problems with this bike. It's been cutting out on takeoff and stuff sometimes, and so I was like, oh, I don't want any of that happening. So I went and tried it out, all right? So the settings I had on this bike were 100, pretty much the same for the hair scramble, all right? I had 180 DC current and like 700 phase amps. All right, so a lot of power. That's a lot. That's, not gonna lie, that's more power than you need off road, man. But it comes, that extra power, that burst of power, it comes in handy sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. All right. Yeah. Okay. So that's the kind of setup I had on the bike. All right. I had the new app on there. It had a new throttle map and everything, so I had actually gotten together with Ian at KO Moto on Discord, and he helped me tune the throttle to make it, more gentle, so I'm gonna say, all right. And then this new app comes along. It's a new throttle algorithm and blah blah blah. It's supposed to let you ride the bike with a lot of power and still be able to rein in those electric horsies, all right, type of thing, all right? Yeah, right, okay, anyway. But so I tried it out. I didn't modify it at all, and I think I had the throttle setting all the way up. I might want to turn it down a little bit. Yeah, the thing is, like, I can't play around with it while I'm racing, all right? So really what I got to do is I got to take it to the park, and I got to mess around with it and stuff, all right? Mess around with the settings. And then yeah, so I had that, and then we took the EVMX battery out for a ride and stuff, and like, okay, it works fine. And then literally like the day before, yeah, I think the day before I head out to Virginia City, they came out with another update. I'm like, oh, what the heck, man? So one of them was like change 46. This one is change 50, all right? So like, it was something about if you roll the bike back, it doesn't let you roll the bike back or something. I don't know. It acts as like a brake or something. So that's a scoop. All right. I didn't do the newest update. I was like, I actually turned the bike on and I moved the bike back. And I was like, I don't know, it's not doing it. So I must be fine for me. So I just said, forget it. We'll just use that one that we got on there right now. I hate that. I hate when you have to do firmware updates and stuff. Then stuff that worked before might not work anymore, and the settings are all different and the app is different, so you have to like kind of learn stuff all over again. I had the bike dialed in pretty well, I'm not gonna lie, all right? And for the hair scramble, it was great, all right? I didn't really need like freaking whole shot power, yeah, we did need that explosive power for this race. So here's what happened. We headed to Virginia City on Friday. I got a campsite all set up. I remember the last time I came, they almost ran out of campsites, and sure enough, they didn't have all that many to this Virginia City as well. Like, that's the first thing I did when I went into town. I went straight to the campground, and still nothing. Right? I had charged all the batteries to 80% prior. All right, so yeah, this is what really happens. We went there on Friday. I got a campsite. I charged the batteries to 80%. Before the race. I don't like, having them, because I was gonna watch the racing on Saturday, all right, and then we were gonna race on Sunday with the electric bikes. I didn't want them to sit for like a whole day with a full charge, so I had them charged to like 80%, and then we were gonna charge it the rest of the way, okay. And the plan was to, well, if my inverter worked on this freaking RAV4, but it broke the week earlier, I could have used that to charge it, all right, nice and silently, might I add. And there's EV chargers out there, so I can charge the vehicle, and then I can use that power that I charged it with to charge the batteries. So, but that didn't work. I took my gasoline generator, and I'm glad I did, because I wound up not being able to charge from the charging station like last time, because there's freaking Teslas parked there, man. So annoying, man. Yeah, like 2 years in a row, I hadn't seen any Teslas parked there. charging, and then this one, they're just there all the time. That's become like a sign of the times, guys. Public chargers are just like, they're getting harder and harder to use, all right? Even at Virginia City. So I wasn't able to use my adapter, my J-plug adapter to like a 10 amp charger, the 240 volt charger. So I couldn't use it like I did last year. But I had my generator, so that's what I did. I charged the gen. I watched the racing on Saturday. It was pretty epic, and I charged the batteries with the generator. Right, good old gasoline generator, man. Hopefully we can get the inverter working on this thing. So yeah, I watched the racing on Saturday, and then Sunday we're gonna we go race. I set up the pits. So here's the plan. All right, the plan was to use the small battery first. Oh yeah, let me get him. Hold on. Okay, I know you can't see them too well, but I have a small battery right here. All right, and there's a medium-sized battery right here. Okay, those are the two batteries that I own, the Lightspeed batteries. And then the EBMX battery is still in the bike. Okay, so my plan was to start off with the smallest battery, then the next lap change to the medium-sized battery, and the last lap use the biggest battery. Right? Why do it that way, HadesOmega? Why don't you start off with the bigger battery? Well, this battery has a serious problem. It doesn't fit very well in my bike, all right? I don't know. I think it's just my bike, all right, because it's an MX. It gets stuck in there, all right? And the more you ride it, all right, the more stuck it gets in there, all right? If you're just kind of putting it in, it's okay. It doesn't settle in all the way, but once you're bumping it and moving it and stuff, it gets stuck in there. It gets wedged in there. So I couldn't pull it out. So I knew if I'm going to have problems like that during the race, that's going to be the last battery that we use. And I'm glad because it worked out like I thought it would. That thing got stuck in the bike. All right, it is stuck in the bike right now. I could not get it off. All right, I literally tried to take it off. I got on my bike while it's on the rack here. All right, and I tried to pull it out. I could not get it out. All right. Maybe if I take the bike off the rack, I can probably get it out, all right? But it is wedged in there. And I don't need that when I'm pitting, all right? So people are saying, oh, yeah, you can cut this and shave that, and I don't want to do that, all right? I shouldn't have to do that to the bike, all right? I think this battery is designed to use with the seat extender mod, all right? That's probably why it doesn't fit very well, but the part that's getting hung up is on the bottom, actually, okay? And maybe if I take that tray off. I think if I take the bottom tray off, the battery will come right out. I think it's just getting stuck on that tray. It's getting stuck on something, all right? But I've noticed, I think when it's fully charged, it might expand a little bit too. So it might be tighter, but it doesn't have a full charge right now, I'll tell you that. Okay? Anyway, so that was the plan, all right? And it worked beautifully, all right? And I'll go over it. Okay, yeah. So small, medium, large, and then so I knew that the course was going to be kind of similar to what the 50th Virginia City Grand Prix. This is the 52nd Virginia City Grand Prix. So that wet race like 2 years ago is going to be like very similar to the course that we rode today, and it was. So the good thing is it was shorter. People have been telling me like the red loop is like 10 miles, and it was 10 miles. Okay, so chances are I probably could have used the battery for 2 laps. All right, because it was only 10 miles. It wasn't all that much. Because last year was like 15 miles. There's no way, dude. If that's like a quarter longer. Yeah, no, it's half as long. Yeah, it was the race was half as longer last time. I just want to say, so I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, the course this year was shorter. I don't know if I would say it's easier, but it was shorter. Okay, and that helps with this bike. So okay, it's time to race. All right. So already I can tell you something that wasn't supposed to happen was I forgot my knee pads. All right, I ride with the Liat knee and shin guards, all right, and I didn't bring them. Where are they? That's a good question. Hold on. Okay, these guys. I forgot these guys. I had to actually look in my garage, all right. I think I misplaced them, and then I totally forgot to bring them. Right, I should have just, you know, I should make a checklist for everything that I do. Like I have a checklist to go to the racetrack, you know. I don't have one to go dirt biking. Okay, but yeah. So these are the knee and shin guards that I wear. The protective equipment that I use is I use a chest protector, all right, like this one right here. Dirt bike pants right here. My jersey, knee pads, a full-size motocross boot that I don't have right. It's not here right now. A helmet and gloves, all right. And another thing I did was I have anti-blister undergloves, all right, so I don't get blister. I didn't get any blisters, so I think it did good. And I remember from the hair scramble 2 weeks ago, I got a blister on top of my thumb here, so I taped it up with a blister tape. I used to do it for every race, and then I just kind of stopped doing it. Sometimes I get blisters, and sometimes I don't. I knew for this race, you probably want to tape your hands up. You're going to be out there for 3 hours max, you know. So yeah, I forgot these. So I've already kind of screwed something up. Okay, and fortunately, these pants have built-in like these are vintage motocross pants, and they have like built-in padding around the knee. So I had some knee protection, but not a whole lot. I heard somebody's knee got messed up during the race too. That's what I say. So yeah, I didn't have the knee pads, but I had everything else ready to go. And I have a video on the pit setup. I'm not going to go over it in this, but I did go over to how the battery swaps were going to go. But I have a video, a pit tour, all right? So you guys can check out my pit. All right, so check that video out. I got a pit tour video, all right? So check that video out. You know, you want to check out how I got the pit all set up and everything, all right? I had like a water station and a battery swapping station and all that good stuff. All right, so you don't really know who's racing until we go line up, all right? That's usually how it happens, because some people, they sign up later, like HadesOmega, all right? HadesOmega didn't pre-register, and I pre-registered the first year, and I wish I hadn't, because it rained a whole lot. I should have just not raced that one, because I messed my bike up on that race, all right? And I said, no more wet races, all right? Well, this was a semi-wet race, all right, guys? So, but you'll find that out in a bit, all right? So anyway, I heard if you pre-registered Liette, all right, the ones that make these knee pads, they gave you a free pair of goggles, all right? So I missed out on a free pair of goggles. I didn't know, but I know if I'd known, and I don't know when they close the pre-reg though. That's a good question. But yeah, I registered on Friday, okay? When I got there on Friday, I registered and I teched the bike and I got everything ready to go. I got the stickers and stuff ready to go on the bike. So that was the plan, all right? So if the weather was nice, I would go to Virginia City and register to race on the Friday before, okay? And yeah, that's what happened, all right? Boo-hoo, I didn't get a free pair of goggles. That's what I want to say. I think there were some fruity looking goggles anyway, so I never tried Liette goggles. But I have these knee guards, and they're pretty good. It's like a hybrid hard and soft armor. Okay. Yeah, so here's who we're racing against, guys. So, oh, guess what? I'm also bike 903. Guess what number I had last year? I was 903 again. So I had the exact same number from last year. I just get lucky like that. Actually, they asked me what number I could have chosen what number I wanted. There's only so many numbers, you know, type of thing. All right. So 900 was Ted. All right. Ted, the guy I've been racing on the Cape Calc for like 3 years. All right. I actually hung out with Ted. He has a house in Virginia City, and it was cool hanging out with him. And we've been racing for a long time. We've had a little rivalry going on, and I had a lot of fun racing with him last year. Okay, so Ted was number 900 bike. The 901 bike, this kid named Quinn. All right, and he said he had a Segway X260, but something was wrong with it, so he was borrowing like somebody's Suron, his friend's Suron. All right, so it was pretty much a stock Suron. All right, yeah, it was pretty much a stock Suron, except it had like a 16-inch rear wheel. similar to this, okay? Yeah, exact same setup as my bike almost. But it still had the same stock suspension and the stock battery and the controller and everything. So there you go. And he'd broken like one of the brake levers already, so you have to like ghetto rig it or something. That's why you put handguards on your bike, man. So that doesn't happen. Okay, so that was the 901 bike. I think the 902 bike he said was going to be his friend's, but he didn't show up. All right, for whatever reason. So he wound up using his friend's bike, and oh yeah, and I'd also talked to Quinn the day before on Saturday. I saw his bike. I was like, oh, this is the 901 bike. And I asked him, how many batteries do you have? And he's like, I only got one. I was like, oh well, you're gonna need at least two, type of thing, all right? But I was like, yeah, you want to have three. Is what I'm gonna say. All right. So I already right off the bat, we are like, yeah, he's probably not gonna finish the race because you got to be able to do 3 laps, all right, to get a score. Okay. So the 902 bike wasn't there, and then I'm 903, all right here, and then the 904 bike was, man, I forgot his name. Sorry. I'll put a subtitle below. I'll get it from the scores, all right. But this dude had he had a Luna Double X Light B, all right. So if you guys don't know what a Double X or a Light B Double X is, it's a like kind of custom bike that Lunicycle made. That they hacked or they modified the stock controller to have more power, and then I think they rebuilt the battery pack or something. It was a more powerful battery pack, and but he had a Qi battery, all right, and I think he was running. It was a 60-volt Qi battery, so it was designed. It was set up so like it wasn't set up for power. It was set up for, you know, but he has a Double X controller, so he probably has a little more power than a stock Sora. Okay, he's running a 21-19 setup. All right, 21 in the front, 19 in the back. All right. He had a big Qi battery. I think he had more than one battery too. He had 2 batteries, so he might have finished the race. I don't remember. I'll talk about it when we get there. Okay. So yeah. So there were 4 bikes. All right. There is Ted, me, and then the 2 other Sorons. All right. And then and yeah. So it's time to go race. We're up there. We're all lined up. So here's the conditions for the race. All right. It was like beautiful weather, about 70s is what I'm gonna say. Or maybe it started off in the 60s and then it got to the 70s. It got a little bit warmer throughout the day, but the weather was great. All right, it was dry, it was kind of windy a little bit. Perfect weather to go dirt bike racing. Okay, so one thing about 2023 is like pretty much the west side of the country of the United States got hammered by rain and snow. All right, well, if you guys don't know, Virginia City is in the high desert. All right, so in the wintertime, when it's raining in California, like where I live, it's snowing where they live. Okay, so yeah, they were saying like 2 weeks ago everything was all snow everywhere. All right, and then now it's all gone. You could still see some snow on some of the mountaintops, but none on any of the stuff we were racing. I'm not gonna lie, I did see some snow out there, all right, but it was just like, you know, kind of out there, not on the trail. Okay. So what happens when snow melts? Turns in the water, guys. Okay. So I'll talk about that in a bit. All right. So yeah, they do the national anthem, and we go up there, and we're going ready to race. All right. 4 of us are lined up. And then green flag goes up. Boom! All right, we take off. It's Ted and Quinn racing right off the line, man. Like Ted and Quinn they kind of passed me. I'm just like hanging out in the back. What I'd heard is a lot of people crashed in the very first section, and they like went off the course or something. The first section was pretty difficult. I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of rocks and stuff. It was rough, right? When you get into the dirt, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie, man. I had some trouble getting through that. It was like kind of like a rock garden section almost. All right, it's like a double track with the rocks all over it. All right, that's pretty much how the rest of the course is, by the way. But yeah, so I'm watching Quinn and Ted just take off. They're side by side, and they go up one of the it gets a drop, all right? Like it goes straight, and then it just goes straight down. Well, they launch off of that sucker. They must have got like a few feet of air. All right, I got a video of it. Check it out.
All right, take it easy down this, man. Do you see the air those guys got? Holy moly, yeah, no. Take it easy, man.
Pretty incredible, right? And they were racing each other, man. Ted and Quinn were just racing right off the bat, and I'm just behind them. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna chill back here. I'll catch up to you guys later. All right. And then yeah, so we go down the rocky section, and then it spits you out onto the pavement, and we go down the pavement. You make a left, and you go past the school. Pretty much the same course as 2 years ago. I kind of knew it. You can get some good speed going down, and then it hooks a right, and you head off into the dirt. All right. So almost immediately, all right, there's a sign that says easier and harder. All right. The easier way is to the left, the harder way is to the right. All right. Well, what does HadesOmega do? I choose the easy route, all right? Don't ask me why. Like, HadesOmega's just scared of the hard shit. I don't know. But yeah, so I take the easy way, and immediately I'm already seeing like mud, kind of mud pits, sorta. There's mud ruts and stuff, or mud puddles. Yeah, and then it's I know this section. It's the first section is really a lot of whoops and stuff. So, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not all warmed up yet, and I'm kind of like, I feel kind of tired already. And we're like 1 mile into the race or something, okay? And then so I know there's gonna be this nasty hill, and it's gonna be nasty going up and people are just gonna be, it's just gonna be carnage and chaos, all right? Well, guess what? Once I turn around that corner, carnage and chaos, all right? There's just dirt bikes left and right, people stuck, people trying to go around and stuff. It was nuts, all right? It was pretty much like the first year of Virginia City Grand Prix, the 50th Virginia City Grand Prix that HadesOmega raced at. Yeah, it was like that, all right? It wasn't raining like it was before, but yeah, there was people getting stuck in mud pits. There was like mud holes, and yeah, it was just bad, man. And you have to just pick your way through it. Well, it was actually me and Quinn were riding. Yeah, I was right behind Quinn. We're just picking our way through the crowds. And I got stuck behind this guy. His wheel was like stuck in a hole or something. And then I think I tried to do a pivot turn, and then I feel my left foot just sink into the mud. Like it's like quicksand. Like it just goes straight into the mud. I was like, oh shit. And then so right off the bat, my foot is all muddy and stuff. My foot pegs are all muddy. Yeah, it's not good. And if you remember correctly from the first race, man, that mud, it weighs you down a lot, man. It makes it hard to move and stuff. Yeah, it's not good. So anyway, I get around everybody and I get up there. I think at some point Quinn kind of just takes off a little bit, and so I don't see him anymore. But I can't continue on the way. There's still people stacked up everywhere, and it was just the same as the first year. The electric bikes just freaking chewed through that shit like no problem. Yeah, and then off I go on the trail. I had to have passed maybe like 30 riders in that section just by like picking my way through there and just getting out of there, man. People, I don't know why it's so hard. Okay, man. We're out of the mud hill, all right, and then so yeah, we just continue on, and I'm already kind of tired, taking my time. I'm just like, and it's really rocky, and so the kind of theme of this ride, this race, was I could feel all the rocks. The suspension doesn't soak up everything, and I'm getting kicked around all over the place, man. I felt like I had a flat tire most of the time. The back was just wiggling all over the place. The bike was not stable at all right? And from what I've talked about with other riders is that's the way they felt too, all right? The traction was atrocious, all right? It was awful, all right? You know how like in the Hollister Hills Hare Scramble, I said, oh, some places had great traction, some places had crappy traction. Well, this was just pretty much all crappy traction, all right? there was rocks everywhere. There's some uphills and downhills, and okay, so eventually I caught up to the 904 bike. All right, the big dude riding the Suron, all right, with the Qi battery, and I was following him for a while. I caught up to him. I caught up to him pretty fast, but then when I caught up to him, I couldn't pass him. Okay, maybe I was just being too nice. I did kind of want to ride with him for a while to see how he was doing. You know, get some video for you guys of the other electric bike riders, and yeah, he did pretty good. I stuck with him for a few miles, and then there was a water. Okay, so yeah, here's the wet part. All right, guys, this was like a semi-wet race, guys. I'm not gonna lie. There's these water crossings. All right, before a hill climb. There's a lot of them. All right, there must have been like 5 of them. You go down the water crossing, then you go up a freaking steep ass hill. All right. Yeah, I mean the last time we raced it, it was all wet and muddy already, anyways. But yeah, it was big splashy, and you know HadesOmega doesn't really like splashy that much. Okay. Well, on one of these water crossings, like he got all bent out of shape, and he went off the trail. And then so I passed them. Okay. For some reason, I did pretty good on these water crossings. All right. I'm kind of glad I didn't have the ASI controller, because when the ASI controller gets wet, it does some crazy stuff. All right. At least mine did. Okay. This KO Moto controller didn't have that many problems with the water, man. It runs good when it's wet. Okay. So I got the bike pretty damn wet, as you can see. All right, look at my clothing here, my pants. All right, this is definitely gonna be garden hose first. All right, the back of my chest protector full of mud. All right, I was just like mud and water everywhere. But it was pretty nice to go through the water crossings. It was refreshing, is what I want to say. There's this one water crossing where you go down and you go down and around, and then it's pretty deep, like literally like maybe up to the wheel bearings. All right, halfway up the wheel, you're like in the water. You know, it's really deep, and if you splash hard enough, probably your whole body will get wet. All right, and then you have to go out into the pavement, and then you're all real slippery and stuff. So.
Oh man, soaked. Well, that was good. Here we go, pavement.
But so once you get to that pavement section, and I think that's about halfway through the lap, it's a long pavement section. It's like almost like a mile long, and you're just supermoto, you just wide open throttle, and you're just ripping down there. I was hitting speeds of like 57, 60 miles an hour. All right, I know this doesn't sound very impressive. I had the power turned down on the controller, you know. Also, this new throttle algorithm thing, it's very similar to the one that I had programmed, but it's kind of flat, and it kind of goes down a little bit, and then it just kind of nosedives. You kind of lose a lot of power in the higher RPM. We had a lot of power. I wish I had just jacked that up to the max, all right? Because I could have really used that power in the higher RPM. Probably could have gotten faster than 60 miles an hour, right? So the max speed I hit in this race was 60 miles an hour on that straight, all right? So there were some pretty nasty downhills, all right? Really nasty downhills. And people just didn't do very, the more inexperienced riders, I'm going to say, they just didn't do very good on them, all right? They were stalling their bikes, getting stuck there, and there's really only kind of one line, and yeah. Going down there's just one really nasty and rocky hill. It's steep too, and there's only one line, and I had to follow this bike down it, and I had to ride my brakes the whole time. And I was like, oh shit, man, I don't know how long these brakes will last. They might start fading and stuff. So I tried to take it easy on it, you know. But I couldn't that first time because there was somebody in front of me, and to keep from hitting him, I had to brake a lot, you know. I passed a lot of riders, right? A lot of the faster riders passing, but man, there was a lot of not very fast riders out there. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. And I passed a lot of people, all right. And once we got past about halfway, I started to get kind of my rhythm going, and we went faster and faster. All right. I'd already passed that one dude, and I didn't see Quinn again, and I haven't seen Ted. All right. So I think Ted and Quinn were ahead of me for a while. Oh, what Ted told me on the first lap, he took. You know how he took the easier way, and then there's a harder way. Well, he took the harder way, so I'll just spoil it for you, all right? The harder way is a hill that just goes straight up. It's straight up, and it's kind of loose and gravelly and stuff, and there's some rocks on it. There's a freaking tree root coming out of it. And yeah, it's straight up, and if you don't make it, it's kind of a bitch to get up the rest of the way if you don't carry your momentum. That's what I say, all right? But yeah, Ted took it, and he said he got up no problem, and he didn't run into anybody. All that mud carnage, yeah, he didn't see it. So I'm like, wow, okay. But I'm kind of glad I went through it just so I could experience it, so you guys could experience it. Okay, it was nuts. All right. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, Ted was in front of us. Ted and Quinn was in front of us, and I made it back to Virginia City. Yeah, there was a lot more hill climbs and downhills. Yeah, there's all sorts of anything you name it, man. It was out there. Okay, we had rocks, we had sand, we had whoops, we had hill climbs, we had downhills, rocky uphills, mud hills, mud puddles, mud trenches, mud water crossings, pavement, you name it, we had it, man. I'm telling you, it was quite, now that I think about it, it was quite a spectacular course. Virginia City pretty much throws everything at you, right? The only thing we didn't have is maybe ledges. We didn't have too many ledges, all right? You got to go to like Moab for stuff like that. Okay? Yeah. So yeah, we didn't actually have too many ledges, all right? But that's okay, whatever. Yeah, it wasn't super technical riding, but the terrain was just very difficult, and the traction was very bad, all right? I was all over the place. You got no brakes. No brakes, okay? Well, no, I'm not going to lie. You did get brakes. There were some smooth sections where you could just get on it and go. You could either rip it or you can go for a cruise, all right? Depending on how tired you are, okay? And it was very dusty, too. Yeah, whenever those bigger bikes pass you, you would get dusted pretty bad. All right, you would get dusted, you would get roosted sometimes, and yeah, water splash on you. The worst is when, like, yeah, you get stacked up with a bunch of other people trying to get up a hard obstacle, and it's just like some of the stuff wasn't really that difficult, and people were having a hard time with it, man. And I just went, I was like, whatever. I just go in front of them, and I just keep on going. So. Yeah, I don't know, man. It was some of that stuff was like really hard for some people, so I'll say. But that's the Sunday race, man. That's all the people that all the goofy riders are on Sunday, guys. Okay, all the crazy stuff is on Sunday, and I kind of like that. That's what I'll say. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I make it back to Virginia City, guys, and I'm ripping it. That last section going into the town, like once you get past there's a really rough, rocky road going into town. Once you hit that pavement, oh, it's just smooth and high speed, high speed pavement, high speed dirt. And I was just ripping it. You go around the corner, you open the throttle all the way, and out you go, And we passed by like the cemetery, and it's wide open dirt, You can just hang your leg out and just go for it, You go up the hill. I remember I raced some people going up it sometimes, and then there's this jump. I remember watching people jump it. Oh man, I would get air on that sucker, man. And then I would do a fist pump every time I came in. I was like, yeah, that was fun. That was awesome. So yeah, so I finished the first lap, and I come in, and then so Quinn and Ted are there. Ted is getting his battery swapped out. Apparently it takes a while for Ted to swap his battery, because he has to like kind of take his seat out and do all this crazy stuff. It's not as simple as changing the battery on the Sauron, where you just put the key in the keyhole, flip the lid, and then disconnect the battery, pull it out. All right, there's a lot more steps, and it requires tools and stuff. So he actually needed a pit crew. Okay, but yeah, mine was like super easy. Average, I would say I tried to do like about 1 or 2 minute pit stops. All right, I would swap the battery. So yeah. So here's what happens. We get there, and then I swap the battery out. Quinn is there talking to me. He's already got his helmet off and everything. So I mean, I knew his race was done. So, but what Quinn had told me later is that he was like the first one to come in. There was nobody else that had come in. He was the first bike to come in, and he rode like a freaking animal. All right, he said he was gonna just rip it on the first lap because he didn't know if he can do a second lap. So he tried to get the best time he could on the first lap. And he just destroyed all of us, all right? All three of us, okay? Ted, and then that other dude on the Soron, all right? I know the guy that, I know we passed that guy. There was somebody behind us, I know that. And then yeah, Quinn had to retire. He didn't have another battery, unfortunately. So I would really like to see what he could do with like 3 batteries, that's what I want to say. So yeah, if you guys are going to race Virginia City, bring 3 batteries minimum. I don't care if you can do 2 laps on 1 battery. You never know what if it was like the last year's race, you need 3 batteries, okay? This year, you'll probably get lucky, you know. But yeah, I was kind of sad to see like he wasn't going to race anymore. He said I told him if you have a lot of charge in your battery, you should go for a second lap, but he said he had like 38%. I was like, "Oh, yeah, no, you don't want to race with that." Once you get to like 50%, the voltage just drops a lot, man. All right, and that's how I know how the Soron behaves. All right, except for this battery, this marvel right here, the EBMX battery. All right, we'll talk about that when we get there. All right, anyway, I swapped the battery pack out, and I take a sip of water, and I'm talking to Quinn a little bit. I'm talking to Ted too. So apparently Ted's rear brake line broke off of his bike, and he had no rear brake. All right, something happened to his rear brake. So he had no rear brake, and it's kind of dangerous to not have a rear brake going down the hills, because if you're using your front brake, you probably just wash out, or you go over the handlebars maybe. All right, you got to be really careful with the front brake. All right. But the rear brake, you can just drag down all the time, right? Pretty much, if you need to slow down. Yeah, so yeah, Ted was having he's going to have a hard time out there, okay? So I'm done with my pit, and Ted's battery is still being swapped, and off I go. So I'm in front of Ted. All right, boom. Out there, I've already passed Quinn, and I've already passed Ted. That means I'm number 1, all right? All I have to do is stay number 1, all right? And you don't know how many times I was kind of looking behind me, looking for Ted, you know, like Ted's out there somewhere. He's coming to get me, so you better watch out for him. So don't go too slow, HadesOmega. I know you're in the front, but like, yeah, just take your time, but don't take too much time. All right. So that was my strategy. So this time around, all right. So I got this battery, okay, the medium-sized battery. All right. So this time around, all right. This time around, instead of taking the easy way, I take the hard way, all right? I think Ted told me that the hard way is actually not that hard, all right? It's just a steep hill, all right? So I go around the corner, and sure enough, yep, it's just this freaking, it's a hill climb, and it just goes straight up into the, you're in a forest, and you just go straight up, all right? And there's some rocks and roots and stuff, but I make it about halfway, and I lose my momentum. I was like, oh shit, well, it's a good thing I'm on an electric bike. It doesn't stall. So I was able to kind of paddle my way up past the root, and then once you get to the root, you can just take off, all right, a little bit. So one thing I'm beginning to notice on this is that 13 kilowatts, or we're running 13 kilowatts on this guy, is a lot of power, man. And I wasn't getting any traction with the tires, man. The traction was poor out there. And so there's a technique that I'd used when my Soron was still stock, all right? In the sport mode, sometimes it would have so much power, the tires would just spin, all right? I had crappy trials tires, so not very good traction. So if you put it in eco mode, it's like you have a traction control, like you get a less torque, all right? and the tire doesn't spin as much. So that's what I did. I would switch between sport and eco mode like several times. All right. I had it so the power level was very similar. It's only just a little bit less power than the sport mode. All right. But in the eco mode, the throttle is a lot less responsive. All right. So some sections I like a more responsive throttle, and some sections I don't like it. Like when I go down hills, I'd rather have the eco mode. All right. Because there's less chance of me whiskey throttling it. All right. If I just blip the throttle a little bit, it's not going to get me bent out of shape. All right. But in sport mode, if you just kind of touch the throttle the wrong way, the bike just kind of takes off. All right. So on the downhills, I would put it in eco mode. All right. Or if I needed the traction, I would put it in eco mode, and it worked pretty damn well. All right. I like the eco and the sport mode. They work really good. In my opinion, I think I could turn the throttle response a little bit down more. I think it's still a little too touchy, but I was able to manage it by switching between the sport and the eco mode. All right, so HadesOmega really likes sport and eco mode. When I had the ASI controller, I couldn't use. I lost the sport and eco mode switch. All right, it didn't work anymore. All right, and if you use the NXT display, sometimes it didn't really work. Okay, so I lost my eco mode, so I just had to make sure I tuned it really good. Okay, so yeah, I got up that really steep hill. All right, I had a little trouble. Okay, but I got up it. All right, and it takes you to like the top of where that muddy hill climb is. It takes you to the top of that, and you only have to do like one section of it, and the bike just gets through it like easily, man. It's not hard at all. I guess I got the right bike for the job, that type of thing, right? And then yeah, I just go there, and we're kind of riding, and we're doing pretty good. All right, until I get to a mud rut. All right, so I didn't have this problem on the first lap, but in the second lap, there was some of these like mud puddles. All right, and then people have been riding through it, and it's got ruts now. All right, and they're pretty deep ruts. All right, is what I want to say. And well, I went into the rut, and I did this. All right, my foot, it peeled off the foot peg, and I twisted my ankle, and it hurt a whole lot. That's not the.
Oh fuck! Damn it!
And I'm not gonna lie, that's not the first time that's ever happened to me. All right. It's happened to me before, all right? I've had this bad habit of, like, I guess, keeping my foot out like this, all right? My feet are like this. I got to remember to point my toes inward so that doesn't happen, you know? But, yeah, it was pretty bad, all right? My foot is really swollen and painful right now. I just took a bunch of painkillers, and I think it's starting to go away. I need to ice it real bad. I'm going to be hurting a whole lot tomorrow, is what I say, okay? So, yeah, I already injured myself on the second lap, all right? It was so painful. I had to stop for a second, and I was like, oh boy. And then whenever I put any weight on it, it would hurt like a whole lot. So yeah, and specifically when standing, right? So that kind of sucks. Like, so I had to kind of race like an old man. So I say, all right. Like when there's a bump or something, I just get off the seat. I hover my butt just enough, you know, where I'm not on the seat. You know, that way it doesn't get all crazy. You know. Yeah, I was hurting pretty bad for at least half the lap because of that, all right? And then after a while, it kind of got better. I think it's because of all the adrenaline and stuff, and I didn't feel it as much. So yeah, and then the second lap, it went pretty well. I never saw Ted again. I never saw anybody. I didn't see any of the electric riders. That was it. Okay, I knew, oh yeah, we'll just take it easy and just try to finish. Oh yeah, and then so I came back, and there was 70%. I think there was 70% on the small battery pack, and then when I got back, there was 70% on the battery, on the medium battery also. So we probably could have done 2 laps on one battery, man. But it's not good to risk it, man. It's just better to just swap a battery pack every lap, all right? But yeah, the bike was doing really good. Yep, and then so we switched out to the eBMX pack, all right, on the 3rd lap. Ted wasn't there, right? I didn't see Ted, and then I took off. I did like the 1 minute, you know, pit. I swapped the battery, put the big eBMX battery is in the bike now, all right. And yeah, off we go. And I was hoping to see Ted come up because like where the start and the finish are, you kind of cross each other, right? You parallel each other. and I was hoping I would see Ted come up, but I didn't, you know. Apparently Ted is like having a really hard time because he didn't have a rear brake, so so it was my race, guys. It was my lucky day, all right? So I had a problem. I had a problem with the EBMX battery going down the hill. I tried to rip it going down the hill on the third lap, and the bike just cut out on me. I was like, oh shit. Because I tried to, I was going really fast, and I was trying to slow down really fast with the regen. I think it didn't like that. I think it fully charged the battery, and like it overcharged the battery, and like I think the BMS cut off for a little bit. Okay, I had to turn the bike on and off a couple times, and then I got it running, all right? And then off we went, all right? Oh, okay, yeah. So I took the harder route again, all right? The steep hill climb, all right? But this time I knew, like, yeah, you better like open that throttle. I know you got a lot of power, Merlin, and that's what I did. I probably got the throttle about halfway open, and we just charged up that hill, and I made it up that hill no problem, all right? So this time it was pretty good. So, and then one of the things, I've never ridden with the EBMX battery off-road, all right? And so here's my kind of impressions on it after riding it on those trails, all right? It's heavier, all right, and it makes the bike sluggish, all right? You can't, it's hard to make the bike turn left and turn right, you know? However, it adds more weight to the bike. It adds more weight in the front of the bike. So it makes the bike, the bike was actually more stable with this battery, all right? So apparently having more weight in that area is actually more beneficial, all right? And you got more power. So I think that's good. The only thing is that, yeah, it's harder to get the front to pop up, but that's okay. This bike has a lot of power. You can easily get the front to pop up if you just brap that throttle. It comes up right away. So, but yeah, you have to get on it a little more, is what I want to say. So I think, man, I kind of like that bigger battery. The bike felt more stable, right? I was still getting kicked around and stuff, but yeah, it felt like the bike wasn't out of control all the time, right? There is sometimes I would hit sand with the front tire and it would just like wash out, you know. Sometimes I would just be so tired I would forget about, you know, how to ride properly. I would steer with the handlebars and the bike would just kind of wash out a little bit, but I was able to catch it, you know. And I was just getting kicked around all over the place. By the third lap, my arms were killing me, man. I was getting really bad arm pump, really bad. But I think I know that after you get to there's like two kind of nasty downhills, all right? There's one which it's got big rocks and it's like got ruts and everything. That one's not too bad. And then there's another one that's got a lot of rocks, all right, and there's kind of only one clean line going down it, and I knew once I got to that second one, the second one was the nastiest one because you have to ride the brakes going down. I never faded my brakes too. I was afraid I was going to, but the brakes work pretty good. Yeah, I have the Performance Magura pads, so they work pretty good. They didn't fade at all, so I'm surprised. I could have pushed them harder, is what I say, okay? But I tried as best as possible just to kind of coast down the hill, and I didn't like the regen. I'll talk about that after. But anyway, yeah, so the third lap, I finished the third lap, and I didn't see Ted, so I pretty much knew I was first place. Yeah, well, there it is, right? And I asked them when I came over, I was like, hey, am I done? I think we're only supposed to do 3 laps. And they're like, I don't know. This is a 3-hour race. I'm like, okay. So I go back into the pits. And yeah, so I think you're done after 3 hours. And if you want to get your finisher pin, you just go up there. Like, hey, I was in the electric bike and I did like 3 laps. And I think they'll have your times and stuff. But I was there in the pits and I was talking to Ted. No, was I talking to Ted? Yeah, Ted came in. I was there hanging out and I was just chatting with people and I'm wondering, like, should I do another lap? I got enough time to do another lap. I don't think anybody has ever done a 4th lap Virginia City Grand Prix on an electric bike for the electric class. And I was like, I kind of want to be the first one. So I had the EBMX battery in there. I had 70% charge in it. I was like, dude, we could pretty easily do another. I know, because these other batteries had 70%, and I'm like, well, I know if this one has 70%, we should have a lot of charge because this one holds more at 70%. So I said like, hey, you know what, we can do it. But I was really tired after that third lap. So I took a long break. I took like a 5-minute break, and I was talking to Ted, and I was like, hey, you know what? I think I might go out for another lap. I got enough charge, and I kind of want to try it. So this is the experiment part, guys. I had this EBMX battery. I want to see if it can go the distance. I want to see if it can do 2 laps of Virginia City Grand Prix, all right? So this course was 10 miles, so that would be like 20 miles, all right? This battery is effing incredible, all right? The amount of charge that it has, and it makes the bike more stable, all right? Anyway, so I go out for a 4th lap, guys. I know, HadesOmega's freaking crazy, right? I didn't have to, but I went out, all right? And I told myself, you know what? Just take it real easy. You're not getting time for this. Well, you're getting a time for it, but it's not going to count, all right? It's not going to count towards your thing, your race, because you only get scored off the first 3 laps, right? So I was like, yeah, just go out there, go for a trail ride, man. Just go cruise on the trails, all right? Well, don't cruise too much because you need to go fast in certain sections. So I take the easier way this time, and I want to try it when there's like no carnage, all right? And I went up it like easily. I was like, man, this is a lot easier when there's nobody around. I easily made it up that mud hill, and then up the second stage of that mud hill, piece of cake. And so I'm not lying, like about a quarter of the way through the 4th lap, I was dead, man. My knees were killing me, all right? Like right here, it was killing me. Like I think it's just the seating position of the Sauron. You know, I'm just sitting in that position for a long time. Then I stand up, it just hurts even more. So I was like, oh, I'm dying here, man. But just take your time, just pick your way through. Try not to slow down in too many people because technically you're not racing anymore. Right? I'm just out there for a trail ride now. But we're still getting the time for it, like I mentioned. And then yeah, at one of the downhills, I remember a KX passed me. A KX passed me. I think I don't know if I let him, but yeah, I kind of slowed down. I think I told him, yeah, come on, go ahead, pass me. All right, and then he passes me, and then he just eats it right in front of me, and he get the wind knocked out of him. He's on his knees on the ground. His bike is right next to him. I was like, oh shit, oh man, this sucks. This sucks for this guy. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm not really racing right now. I can help him out. So I put my kickstand down, and then I picked his bike up. Like I told him like, hey, yeah, are you good, man? And I was like, yeah, I think I'll be okay. I got the wind knocked out of me. And then so he got offside the trail. His bike is like in the middle of the trail. So I at least try to pick it up so he can get back on it and ride. So that's what I did. I picked it up and I put it on the side stand. And then some jokers come by and they freaking somebody hit my bike and my bike fell over. I was like, what the heck, man? I didn't crash my bike at all during this race, and then these guys come by and they knock my bike down. And my handlebars are kind of crooked now. I was like, oh shit, man. That's what I get for trying to help somebody out, man. Maybe I should have moved farther off the trail. I was kind of close to like the nice line, so yeah. But you could pretty easily get by. Yeah, and so the rest of the 4th lap was pretty brutal, man. Then I'm starting to get the arm pump again, and then my knees are killing me. I had to actually stop and halfway through. I had to stop and I had to take like a break for it to go away. And I was just kind of just chilling, just picking my way through stuff. I was hurting really bad. And then that long pavement straight, or the long pavement section, I just took my time on it, man. I was like, yeah. Well, also I didn't want to get on the throttle too hard to drain the battery too much, all right? But I think most of past the halfway point of the 4th lap, I still had like 50% battery. No. I still had 60% battery. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. That the charge doesn't go down very fast on that battery. It's nuts, man. You can ride a long time with it. And then I got back, and the closer I got back to town, the faster I started riding. I knew like, oh yeah, man, we're almost done. Come on, finish strong. try to go as fast as you can, and that's what I did. All right, and I made it back, and that was it. And I got a podium interview. I got my finisher pin. Yeah, man, I got the awesome. I think. Oh yeah, I had to. On the third lap. Yeah, before the end of the third lap, I had to switch to my second camera. So I had to actually stop on the side of the trail. It took me a minute or two, swap the cameras, took a break, and then I kept on going. All right. And then so I was still on that second camera on the fourth lap. This is the first time I've gotten video of the entirety of Virginia City Grand Prix, at least the red loop, all right, guys, or at least the whole electric race. So yeah, I'm so happy, man. I finally got it all. I know I've had problems the last 2 years, and then my camera runs out of power, and you guys can't see me struggling to get my bike back. But this time I got it all right? I got it all, and I didn't have any major problems at all. It was my day, guys. That's all I'm saying. It was my day, dude. It was my day to shine, type of thing. Ted's bike got all messed up. The other Quinn's, he only had one battery, and I never saw the other guy on the Soran. I don't know how he did. So I'll put a subtitle below how he did. Okay. Yeah, and that was that. We came back for the fourth lap, and that was it. I got the podium interview. I got my finisher pin. So you guys got to see the whole start to finish of the Virginia City Grand Prix. I will have a if you haven't watched them already, you should have watched them before this video, all right, guys. But I'll have the first, second, third, and fourth lap. The fourth lap will be a bonus lap, okay? Because I didn't really have to do it. I just did it because I wanted to. So what really happened? I'm really happy with the results of the race. Okay, all my hard work and like, you know, setting up the bike and all that stuff and prepping has all paid off finally. And the HadesOmega's third year doing the Virginia City Grand Prix, I got first place, guys. First place. I can't believe it. So I accomplished a lot. All right. This is the first Soran that's ever won this race. All right. I've always gotten second or third place on this race. All right. This is the first time. Yeah, this is the first time I got a first place trophy. Like I really earned it. All right. And it was a very difficult race. This is the first time I didn't run out of battery on the course. All right. The first two races, I ran out of battery. All right. I just had bad luck the first 2 years, man. And then finally, the stars aligned, type of thing. Okay. I think I have the first electric bike in Virginia City history, or Virginia City Grand Prix history, to complete 4 laps. Okay, and yeah, so that's that. I didn't have to do it, but I did it. All right. And the sad thing is, the other riders, they didn't get trophies. So every year that we've had this electric race, they've had like second and third and fourth place trophies. Even though there weren't that many of us, but they only gave out the first place trophy. Even Ted didn't get a trophy. I kind of felt bad. It could have been because I did a fourth lap. I kind of messed stuff up. Hopefully they'll get hopefully they'll get a trophy. All right. I think, you know, if you showed up to race, and you at least put a lap in, you know, you should get something. All right. Since there's not that many riders, you know, in my opinion. Okay, so yeah, so that's my story. That's what happened. What could we do to do better? All right, man, the suspension is still shit on this bike. I hate it. All right, guys. At least on Virginia City Grand Prix, it's not good. I felt every bump, I was just telling myself, I feel every bump. It's awful. I'm not getting good traction. I feel like I got a flat tire all the time. The back just wiggles and wobbles all over the place. And it's just because it's a mini bike, man. You're getting kicked around. It's like only 100 pounds. I did find out that so I did find out with the heavier battery, the bike is actually more stable. So maybe that's what the Soran needs. It just needs more weight, you know. But so let me talk about the EBMX battery. I didn't have any problems with these other batteries. They work fantastically. This one I overcharged going to downhill, and it killed itself. Like the BMS shut off or the controller shut off. Something happened. I had to restart it a bunch of times to get it running again. That's the only time this bike had a hiccup during that whole race. All right. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. So I don't know. It might have been because this had like such a high state of charge that when I let off on the throttle and it regen, it didn't like it. Right? It overcharged the battery because this is I have it set for 40 amps of regen. Okay. So speaking of regen, all right, I hate off throttle regen. It's the suck, man. After going from a regen throttle to off throttle regen, it's no good. All right. I was had with this off throttle regen, you know, if you get on the throttle, you get off the throttle, you do this herky jerky thing, all right? Unless so, and it's harder to like kind of have to, you know, you have to have very good throttle throttle position and stuff. And like if you want it to coast, you have to give it a little bit of throttle. One thing I liked about the Suron is if I just want to coast down a hill and, you know, I don't want to slow down a lot, then I just won't use the regen throttle. It just coasts, all right? If I want to go off a jump and you know, I don't want to get on the throttle, I just let off the throttle. I just want to coast the jump, but, you know, not get all crazy, like go down. Then I just don't use the regen throttle. It just goes just fine. With this one, if you let go of the throttle when you get to a jump, it's gonna nosedive, right, guys? So you have to be very disciplined with the throttle, with the off throttle regen, right? There's so many cool things you can do with the regen throttle. I don't know why Moto doesn't have something like that, man. I mean, they're like cutting edge motor and controller, but it doesn't have a regen throttle option, all right? In my opinion, that's what I want, all right? That's what I want, Moto. I want a regen throttle. I don't want none of this off throttle regen or throttle switch stuff. I don't like it, man. I think the regen throttle is what I want, like, because one of the big weaknesses of the Suron are the brakes. The brakes aren't very good, all right? Now the brakes did perform really well, all right? I'm not gonna lie. I did after the last race, I bled everything, so they work pretty good, all right? They don't bite really hard, but they slowed the bike down when I needed to slow it down, all right? And they didn't fade on those long downhills. So I'm actually kind of impressed with the Magura brakes, all right? I was running the Magura performance pads, and they did pretty good, all right? I'm pretty happy with it. I knew that by the like third or fourth lap, yeah, you can, if you want to slow down on the downhill, go for it, man. Don't worry about fading the brakes, all right? And the regen, I don't like the regen shutting off at like 12 or 10 miles an hour. It just, you know, it makes it hard in technical sections. Like if I need to go down a really steep section, I'm not going to go down at like 12 miles an hour. You're going to kill yourself, you know? In my opinion, this controller is not suited for technical dirt bike riding, okay? I don't like it, man. I need a lower minimum regen, all right? And then so that leads me to the coasting thing, all right? It doesn't coast when you let go. You know, the only time it does coast if you're going under 10 miles an hour, and I was like, oh yeah, you can actually coast with this, but you have to go really slow, all right? And with the regen throttle, I can, you know, anytime I want, I can do whatever I want, all right? I can coast if I want to. I just don't use the regen throttle. If I want to slide the bike around the corner, I just use the regen throttle, you know? If I want to slow down going down the hill, I use the regen throttle. I don't have to use I'm not bound by the mechanical brakes. I can still use them. It's good to have them, you know, but I would like the regen throttle, all right? It makes up for the weakness of the Suron bike, okay? So yeah, so that's what could be improved. I want a regen throttle, right? I don't like this off throttle regen. I hate to say it, I might just change the controller. I do like this controller, okay? So I'm gonna kind of critique the bike, all right, for this year. This year we had the KO factory spec controller and motor, and then I had the EVMX battery, all right, and then all the batteries that I had before, all right. And then I had the Dorado and the Bombcat suspension, and I don't want to say bad things about them, but the suspension, but it just, for this race, it was just not good at all, man. I really wished I had one like a KTM or some really nice dirt bike, all right, because they're probably getting half as beat up as you on this thing, man. It is just, it's hard to ride this thing, man. It's very difficult to ride this bike in very rough terrain, okay? It just doesn't have good motorcycle suspension, all right? And so that's why I want an Ultra B. Okay. Next, I would like to buy an Ultra B and maybe race it in Virginia City Grand Prix next year. But yeah, I would need 3 batteries. That's the problem. Okay, so yeah, Sauron. All right, if you want to sponsor me as a rider, if you want me to get a Sauron bike on the podium again, send me an Ultra B with like 3 batteries, and I won't do too many mods to it, man. But well, I'll try to get it back on the podium. All right. I think the Ultra B would be a great bike. You know, the suspension is probably better than this bike. You know, the motorcycle suspension. It has more than enough power. It roughly has the same amount of power I have tuned on this right now. Okay. So how did the KO Moto controller do at Virginia City Grand Prix? It did pretty damn well. All right. This controller, it has very good endurance. It doesn't heat up a lot. I didn't check how the heat. I didn't have time to do it. Okay. But I don't think it overheated at all. Right, and there was a lot of uphills, and there's sometimes I had to lug the motor and everything. The motor, it took everything I threw at it. All right, I punished that motor. All right. Also, before the race, I had changed the primary drive chain because I destroyed my other one. Okay, it got destroyed in that short track race, and my bike has had a vibration problem, and I put a new chain on it. Oh, it's so butter smooth. I love it, man. The drivetrain did really good out there, right? As you can see, the bike is very muddy, man. And we went through a lot of water crossings. Everything got wet. Mud, water, everywhere, all right? My gear is all dirty. The bike is all dirty. And the bike ran through the water just fine. I didn't have any problems with the bike getting wet, and we got really wet. I'm not gonna lie, man. And the bike ran great, okay? Like I said, I hit a max speed of 60 miles an hour. And yeah, man, this KO Moto controller and motor they can handle a lot of punishment. Right? I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, it's very, very durable. But I want a regen throttle. Right? I think if this had a regen throttle, it would be perfect. And then HadesOmega won't complain anymore. Okay, I just don't like that off throttle regen. I had the Domino twist throttle. One thing I don't like about it is it's hard to twist. I was gonna put a cramp buster, you know, those little levers that you put on the throttle on it, so like it would be easier to twist. But actually, this race I didn't really have that many problems with my wrists hurting. I just got arm pump, and that's from twisting the throttle too. So I think if I had that throttle, that cramp buster or something, it would help with that. All right, I have one on my KLX. The pull is twice as heavy as the old Sauron one. All right, and that's what I liked about the Sauron one is like it's very easy to pull, so you don't get tired as easily. All right, this one I do get tired pulling that throttle, but this throttle is much better. It's much smoother. I like this throttle, so I do like it, but I don't like the weight of the throttle. I wish it was softer. So I think I might add a cramp buster and try it. We'll see. All right, for off-road anyways. I ride one with one on the KLX, and I think it would be better on this bike too. So what are the tires HadesOmega's running? I'm running a Shinko 525 Cheater and 16 in the back, and I have Shinko F546 or 456 on the front, and the traction was really bad, man. That's like the worst traction I've ever had. Because it was dry and dusty. We got dusted so many times. Yeah, man. All right, yeah, but I think I impressed a lot of people out there. I pass a lot of gas bikes out there. All right, a lot of gas bikes pass me, but I pass a lot of gas bikes too. Okay, and well, I beat all the other electric bikes. So yeah, there's a cause for celebration. All right, this is like one of the hardest races HadesOmega has ever done. This is the hardest race HadesOmega has done. Virginia City Grand Prix. It doesn't get any harder than this, all right? Except for like maybe like hard enduro stuff. Yeah, I don't really do hard enduro. All right, I would probably do like a regular enduro. But yeah, this is tough, man. It's a long race, and it's not very forgiving. That's all I would say. All right, I saw a lot of people just taking it easy on the trails or taking breaks on the trails, and yeah, I mean that's kind of frowned upon in a race, right? Type of thing. You gotta keep on going. But there was just some people, they just weren't ready. I talked to a lot of people, and they're like, "Oh, this is my first dirt bike race," and they pick Virginia City Grand Prix. I was like, damn, all right, you're brave, because in case you didn't know, this is a very hard race. Okay, yeah, a lot of people's eyes just were wide open, all right, and so I got it. I got all of it, guys. All right, this time around, you guys got to see everything HadesOmega got to see during this race. Okay, and I took you guys along for the ride. So a lot of people came up to me and they say, "Hey, I watched you made a YouTube video, right?" And a lot of people watch my videos to see what the course looks like, how the racing is like, you know, and that's what I'm trying to bring to you guys. You know, I'm trying to show you what it's like out there. You know, because I didn't know what it's like. Right? I watched some videos and they're kind of, you know, they're all right, but yeah, that's what I'm trying to bring to you guys. Entertainment, all right, type of thing, all right. It's definitely entertaining for me, all right. That's what I want to say. But yeah, so the bike is all really dirty and stuff, but it's all dirty and beat up, but it handled it just fine, all right. And I got a first place trophy. I didn't break the bike at all. My headlight is kind of loose. I noticed it was pretty loose before the race, and I kind of just want to get rid of the headlight because I don't really ride this at night all that much, and most of the races are in the day. All the races I do are in the daytime, and I just use this as a race bike now, man. This is just my race bike. So but sometimes I do ride on the street, so I don't know, man. It's kind of, maybe I should try and find a different kind of headlight or something. But yeah, there it is, Virginia City Grand Prix. So HadesOmega X KO factory spec Sauron Light B got first place in the 52nd Virginia City Grand Prix in the electric class. There you go. Yeah, I don't know. Next year, I kind of want to get an Ultra B, but we'll probably just race it again in this. From what I heard, Ted is not going to race next year, so yeah. If you wanna take the King of Electric title or for Virginia City Grand Prix from HadesOmega, come on down and race, please, man. We gotta get more electric bikes out there and race, man. It's so much fun when we're out there racing. Unfortunately, I didn't really race with very many electric bikes this time around because, well, Ted and Quinn were like really fast, and then I passed them. So, I mean, that just goes to show, even if you're fast, you know, you may not win the race, you know. A lot of people, they're fast and then they crash, you know. If you crash, it's not good, all right? I messed up my ankle, but, you know, the bike is okay, all right? So, I didn't mess the bike up too bad, type of thing. I will check it out, but I think it did fantastic. All the prep work and stuff we did, I'm so happy with how it turned out, all right? But yes, it still beats me up a whole lot. I want a bike that doesn't do that. If I can get a bike that can, you know, handle that kind of riding and, you know, without me getting all beat up and stuff, I think we can do better. But I think this is kind of the limit of what I can do with the Light B, all right? But I was pretty impressed with Quinn's riding. That's what I'll say. He rode a stock Light B and he came in first. All right, that's pretty nuts. All right. So that just goes to show, you know, you don't need a fancy bike to be fast, man. You just need riding skills. All right. I was legit impressed. All right. Okay. Thanks for watching. That's the end of the AAR for the 52nd Virginia City Grand Prix. All right. Virginia City Grand Prix 2023. Thanks for watching. Oh, I got my finish. If you guys didn't notice, I'm wearing my finisher pin right here too. All right, I'll put a picture of it at the end. Okay, thanks for watching. Oh yeah, and yeah, the batteries did great. All right, these two batteries did great, and the EBMX, I'm legit impressed with that thing. All right, but I wish it fit better on my bike. Okay.